How goes it, fellow strategists? It's me, the big man, the guy connoisseur of the dead canine memes of the internet, and I'm here to give you some bit of a guide or a tutorial of sorts. Now, tutorials are something that's overabundant in the age of 2019 for FAF, so trying to come in here with a fresh perspective is kind of fucking hard to do in this sort of environment, but the reason I decided to contribute in this way is because a lot of the tutorials out there, their abundance is through the roof, and a lot of them are very detailed in the way that they try to deliver information to the player. Now, a lot of this boils down to build orders, the types of units that you'll be facing with, the factions and what they are good at and what they're not good at, things like that. And while all that shit is pretty fine and dandy for the most part, there's a very clear lack of direction that the tutorials tend to give for new players, especially the brand spanking new ones, and delivering this kind of information to them about all these different patterns of gameplay and behavior tends to get overlooked, as for the most part none of these brand new players are going to know what the fuck to do with this information. I guarantee that nobody's going to be taking this and applying it to the real competitive scene within the first span of watching Heaven's tutorial videos. But in that way, I kind of want to go ahead and provide very concrete ideas for new players to get a hold of, because this is something that is needed in order to get people started. I wrote a guide a while back called 3 Essential Habits for the Brand New Player, and it's up on the wiki. I can definitely link it in the description, but I decided that after a while of doing this, I probably need to put this in a video format. Maybe I just want to do this to give more clairvoyance to brand new players about what it means to really start off and be competitive in the community and what they should start doing, rather than overwhelm them with redundant information that's going to fly over their heads. So to kick this off, we're just going to go ahead and delve into the 3 essential habits. And for this, we'll be starting off with probably the most quintessential one: playing. Wow. What a unique, interesting concept. Never before has it been seen on the field, but let me tell you something. So many players tend to come up to trainers, or when they're complaining about something that they're not very good at and are having problems with, most of the time it boils down to they haven't played enough, or they're hardly playing at all. You will not get any better with this game if you play the game and then stop playing. Like, if you start complaining that, geez, I'm not getting any better, you're not going to get better not playing the game. That's just how it goes in this. So attributing to this habit, there's a few little details and tips that I want to provide. One of those being playing ladder and ranked team games. This is quintessential and such a big part of being a competitive player. I will say this, that you can play whatever you want in the FAF community. It's the liberty and freedom that you have to join this community and have all sorts of options available to you and whatnot, being able to play co-op, the various game modes, and AI, but none of these will be able to prepare you against actual ranked situations where you are put up against most likely better players and you're going to get your ass pounded to you, but that's all going to contribute to the main goal of improvement. You need to play against real players in order to successfully develop your habits in a way that you can prepare and improve in a way that will benefit you in the long run. The thing about playing against AI is that you will find the bots are going to be predictable. This tends to be the case in all sorts of RTS games or bots introduced to any gaming scenario. And when it comes to players, you'll be introduced to a variety of unforeseeable factors, and they will exploit you and your weaknesses, whereas a bot tends to play out his options according to what he's programmed. You get the whole gist of it. The fact is, playing against a bot is just only going to make you better at playing bots, and against people, actual people, unless they're god-awful and are about in the same position as you, the game will not fare any better. Another sub-point to be used to is getting used to losing. Yes, losing. It's such a disastrous thing when you play out a game and you find that despite how hard you tried, no matter what, you just felt yourself slipping away and being defeated. The problem is for new players is that they have to understand that in order to get better at the game, you need to overcome the distress of being a loser. As weird as it is to put it like that, because so many players, especially the high-rated ones, they'll tell you enough about all the games that they failed at and some of the ones that are so embarrassing. But in this realm, you have to just get used to it. It's part of the experience, and a lot of these losses will be able to reveal to you, perhaps in foresight, about all the mistakes and bad behaviors, or habits rather, about what you've accumulated and what you can do to overcome those issues and improve. That is just the whole gist of it. And finally, practice makes perfect. Now, perhaps this ties in to pretty much playing ladder or ranked team games, but the thing is that being able to play the game essentially allows you to have all the time and effort to practice and filter out all the bad things that you're doing, the mistakes that you make, because no matter how many times you watch those tutorial videos or how often you read through guides, nothing's going to prepare you for the unforeseeable matters that go on within the game. There's so much about muscle memory and intuition that you develop as you play the game that you can only get through playing and actually practicing and applying it to the actual scenarios that you're put into. You need to have the fire put under your ass in order to understand the stakes that are involved and get yourself going, push yourself in a way that you may not have been able to before, and that will eventually lead you to becoming a better player. The second habit I have to offer is watching replays. It's a vital tool that you have at your disposal. This is a tool that I've gone back to rely on whenever I've been in the rudder, and especially it reveals a lot of things that you may not have seen in the heat of the moment as you are playing the game. The entire point of watching replays is that you will see everything that happened, everything that went wrong or right in various cases, and this is where you'll begin to understand how you play and how you look in comparison, because this is also a tool that your opponents, regardless of whatever game mode you have, will be able to utilize against you. Some people will be able to see the replays and see what your weaknesses are and exploit them, and that's why you need to break down everything, see everything that went about the game, study the behaviors and patterns that your opponent tends to make to exploit their weaknesses as well as your own, and that's just how the replays are going to work. This is especially important for trainers. They will be able to see everything and probably be able to point out almost everything wrong just within watching the starting build order. So do use this tool and pay attention. And then the part of the next one is watching higher level replays. Now, I don't expect you to go out here and start watching some of the high rated players. I could tell you that I'm a 1600 level player, and honestly, trying to teach 800s to get up to where I am is about the equivalent of teaching macaroni art to a middle school class, because getting up to this level is not too hard, or at least average rating level, which is probably around 1300. So when you get to a certain point, you want to start watching higher level replays around the average level, so that way you can understand what are the very basic and generic patterns that regular players tend to have. Not particularly great ones, but trying to watch the Petrick or Blackheart's sort of replays is not going to do a whole lot. There typically tends to be a whole lot more factors involved. The players are very advanced in what they demonstrate in their build orders, so it's highly advised that you stick with a rating level that's average, just basic understanding of build orders, and close to your ranking as well, so that way you can sort of take it step by step. That's the point of ladder. It's, you're one hand at a time, stepping up, working your way through. And the third and final habit here, as surprising as it is communication. It is one of those things that I've started to notice in my study of the mammals and species that we have accumulated throughout the FAF community, is that communication tends to be one of the most important factors. A lot of average to high level players are typically very communicative and expressive to other people. The reason for this is, well, it could boil down to the simple engaging in a community, having fun, making friends and all that sort. But there's many things about it, especially understanding maybe the players that you are engaging with and how they tend to think and approach the game. They could help you as well, especially when it comes to higher rated players that you start playing with, and maybe they start telling you and teaching you things along the way. one of the subpoints here is teamwork. Communication in team games is so crucial. Don't spam it, of course. Don't be that pretentious asshole about spamming pings and whatnot. But communication tends to be one of the most powerful assets to a team game, especially for those highly coordinative and be able to plan out things. You will often have those scenarios where your team tends to pull together some high-level game or strategy that will try to pick off certain players or make a game-changing play. So it's one of those things that you want to start developing as you go. You don't want to be docile and restrictive in how you communicate with other people. If you can let them know that, hey, your mirror player is building a nuke, then it's probably important if you pay attention to that, and also look to when maybe your teammates are in danger and help them out to avoid unnecessary consequences. And to sort of reiterate before, you can ask questions. Communication is just one of those things where you can ask people and figure out what kinds of problems you have. Some questions are going to be redundant. You're going to get a lot of flack if you start asking things that maybe, you could go watch play the tutorial in the vanilla game. It'll show you what you need to do. But there are certain things that you could ask about what works and what doesn't in the current meta, and there's plenty of people that can provide you with some useful tips and everything. It doesn't have to be personal trainers. A lot of the regular players will help you out in this way as well. And then making friends. It's more of a wholesome send-off to how these habits are kind of breaking down the reality of the whole thing, but I assure you that making friends has been one of the most important things of being a better player. It's allowed the game to be much more enjoyable. You can have friends that are a lot better than you. You can have fun while learning a bunch of things, and it just have fun. It's really one of the things that a lot of players aren't quite used to. You'll have all kinds of fun just meeting and interacting with all kinds of different people from across the world. I swear it. And that's just going to wrap things up for the 3 essential habits. This is just more of a guide and sort of pushing players, gently pushing them in a direction that will get them started. And there's a lot more resources out there, as said before. Heaven, Brink, I'm trying to think, Colonel Shepard, I remember he was an old player. But a lot of different resources to get you going through much more of the technical and detailed aspects of the game, the really specific parts. But maybe I'll do some more tutorials to help in the more broad perspective of what you need to do, and especially where in the next video I'm probably going to address some misconceptions about certain things about the game that new players need to kick off, bad habits and ideas that they have that they might have developed over time, just to give them a little bit more clarity on what's good and bad. So I'll be addressing that, but otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see about doing some more of this stuff, alright? Take care, guys.